Hello students. Okay, this is the graphical representation of frequency distribution. In last class we were discussing about the table of frequency distribution. So in that I explained about the class, frequency, lower limit, upper limit and class mark. Okay, this table can be explained with the help of graph. Actually this diagram should be doing graph sheet. Okay, this is the graphical representation of frequency distribution. Okay, in this diagram we are observe that frequency curve. This is the frequency curve. So this frequency curve explains the frequency distribution. Frequency distribution. This frequency curve explains the frequency distribution. Okay, what we understood in previous class about the frequency distribution. So frequency distribution is nothing but method classifying of raw data of quantitative variable. It is a method classifying raw data of quantitative variable, and frequency, it is the number of values in a particular class. Number of values in a particular class. Here each classes were mentioned on the OX axis. The classes we are mentioned, we are measured on the OX axis. This is called as axis. This is OX axis. For each and every diagram, this is the OX axis. This is the OY axis. This is origin O. Okay, origin. So here, this is the OX axis. This is the OY axis. So on the OX axis, we measured the classes. 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. For convenient, okay, I written like this: 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. Okay, you can mention like directly 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. You can write like that also. Okay. This is measured on the OX axis. These are called as class or class limits. So classes are measured on the OX axis in the graphical representation. This graphical representation explains the frequency distribution. This is the frequency curve. Frequency curve represents the frequency distribution. Okay. This is the OY axis. This is the OY axis. It shows the frequency. It measures the frequency. On the OY axis, we measure the frequency. On the OX axis, we measure the classes. Okay, here you should be write this diagram compulsory in the graph sheet, right? So this how we can frame this graph, like how we can frame this curve. This is frequency curve. Okay, how we can frame this? So this is we can frame with the help of frequency and classes. You can observe here at the time of 0 to 10, 0 to 10, we can mention like 0 to 10, the class frequency is 1. Okay, at the time of 10 to 20, the class frequency is 8. At the time of 20 to 30, the class frequency is 6. Further 7, 21, 23, 19, 6, 5, 4. This is called as graphical representation of frequency distribution. Graphical representation of frequency distribution. This shows the classes and frequency. This is called as frequency curve. Frequency curve represents the frequency distribution. Okay, on the OX axis we can measure the classes. On the OY axis we can measure the which one? Frequency. So here you have to calculate like line by line, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this also. Okay, in the graph sheet you have to calculate like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Like this also you have to mention. So here also 10, 30, 50, 70, 90. Okay, in the graph sheet you have to draw this one. Okay, so it will come for 4 marks. If it is come for practical oriented question, that time it will come for 5 marks. Anyhow, this is the frequency distribution. Don't forget frequency distribution. It is a method. It is a method what for classifying raw data. Classifying raw data of quantitative variable. Anyhow, we have to prepare frequency distribution to understand easily about any concepts or any problems about statistics about raw data. Then how we can prepare the frequency distribution? To prepare frequency distribution, there are 4 methods. So what are they? We have to observe that one. So before rubbing this, once again I repeat, this is the graphical representation of frequency distribution. On the y-axis we measure the classes. Class means these are class limits or classes. On the y-axis we measure the frequency. Okay, this one. So this is the frequency curve. It explains it represents the frequency distribution, values of frequency distribution. Okay, so the next step is we have to prepare the frequency distribution. Frequency distribution is helpful to the understand of any topic or any concept or any problem. Easily we can provide a solution. But how we can prepare the frequency distribution? To prepare the frequency distribution, we have to follow 4 methods or 4 stages. What are they? We have to observe that one. See students, so these are methods or should we follow the steps to prepare frequency distribution. So frequency distribution, it is not an easy task to prepare. So it is very carefully we have to prepare the frequency distribution. So while preparing frequency distribution table, we have to observe, we have to check out, we have to follow these questions or these answers or these instructions or these conditions. So what are the questions? How many classes should we have? What for? For frequency distribution. For the sake of frequency distribution, how many classes should have? ಎಷ್ಟು ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಲೈಕ್ 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60. ಎಷ್ಟು 50 ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ? ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ we could stop at 70. ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? Where we have to stop? How many we have to prepare? That is the first question. We have to find out the answer. For the first question we have to find out the answer. What is that question? How many classes should we have? ಎಷ್ಟು ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು? ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಹೌ ಮೆನಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ we are having. Okay, the classes like 0 to 10 or 10 to 20 or directly 10 to 20, that is we have to arrange. First thing, we have to find out the answer for this question. Second question is, what should be the size of each class? Either 5, either 10, either 50, either 100. We have mentioned like 0 to 10. We have mentioned like 10 to 20. Okay, either 2 to 4, 4 to 6. First we have to select or we have to check the size of each class. The second answer we should find out for this question. What should be the size of each class? Size means that is the value. Value means like either it starts from 0, it starts from 10, it starts from 20, or directly it starts from 50. So that is only we have to identify the answer for this question. What should be the size of each class? Okay, then how should, the third important question, how should we determine the class limit? We have to identify the answer for this. What for? While preparing frequency distribution, we have to identify the answer of this question. How should we determine the class limits? How we can determine the class limits? That is 10 to 20. How? 20 to 30. Why it is not like 40? Why it is not like 30? So that is only we have to understand. with the help of understanding the answer. With the help of understanding the answer of which question, how should we determine the class limits? The class limits like 0 to 10, 10 to 20. Why it's not 10 to 30? Why it's not 10 to 50? Why it's not 50 to 100? Okay, why it will be not like this? To understand that, we have to identify the answer while preparing the frequency distribution. Then last question is, how should we get frequency for each class? How should we get frequency for each class? This is also very important for preparing frequency distribution. For all these questions, we will discuss one by one in next classes. Okay. Like what about how many, what about what should, how many, what about how should, what about how should we get frequency for each class? You understood? The frequency means that is number of values of particular class, number of values of particular class. How we can identify that one? So about this, for all these questions, we have to identify the answers. Well, it's very important to which one? To while preparing the frequency distribution. While preparing the frequency distribution, very important. This one, which one? These answers are very important. We are discussing about the frequency distribution. Frequency distribution is nothing but it's a method. It is a method classifying the raw data. Classifying the raw data of quantitative variable. Okay, to understand any statistical information, first we have to organize the data, because we have to understand the data to provide a solution. So what we are collecting directly, that is not considered as an organized data, that is unorganized data. Okay, so that's why we have to organize the data. First we have to organize the data. So with the help of frequency distribution, we can easily organize the data and we can get the solution for any problem with the help of frequency distribution. So that's why while preparing the frequency distribution, we should follow this one. We have to identify the answers for these questions. First we have to know the answers for all these questions. What are the questions? How many classes should we have? Okay. What should be the size of each class? How should we determine the class limits? How should we get frequency for each class? Okay, this one we can understand in like by knowing the answers, and we can discuss this one in next classes. Okay, we can discuss the answers in next classes. Thank you. Don't forget, everyone should copy the notes. Already given notes about two chapters. One is introduction, another one is collection of data. Okay. From these two chapters only the question will arise while your test. Okay. Don't forget to write this one. Compulsory, each and everyone should complete the notes. So after finishing the test, we will inform you. You should bring for checking or for verification. Okay, everyone should copy the notes compulsory, and everyone should purchase blue books for each subject. You should write test in that blue book only.